Scene 1. The Watchers. There was something different about Sloane. She wasn't the quiet type, and yet everything about her radiated silence, measured, secretive, and entirely controlled. Not the cold, dismissive kind of control, but the kind that whispered, "I won't abandon you. I'll be here. Always." And Nariska O'Connor couldn't explain why she was drawn to her. Because everything about Sloane screamed danger. For the past 2 years, Nariska had come to this rundown bar tucked into the forgotten edge of town. It was the only place where she could drop the weight of her world. No ranks. No missions. Just the hum of cheap lighting, the scent of spilt beer, and her own company. In the daylight, she was a commanding officer in the French Resistance Corps, an elite covert force that officially didn't exist. 15 years of black ops, counter-surveillance, high-risk rescues, and soul-level solitude. She liked it that way. Ever since the last betrayal shattered her trust, she'd rationed her heart like a final bullet, never to be wasted again. This bar had become her escape, her fortress, until she arrived. For the past month, Nariska had been watching her. The woman at the bar. She always came alone. 2 drinks. One long stare into the second glass like she could see memories swirling in it. Then she'd drop some bills and disappear into the night. No small talk. No flirting. Just presence. She was striking. Raven hair spilled in soft curls down her back, streaked with natural silver. Always in black slacks. The tops changed. Tonight it was a soft gray sweater under a long dark coat. Nariska only ever caught her in glimpses, mostly from behind, but the mirror behind the bar gave away more. Storm gray eyes. Sharp features. Almost too sharp. Like something sculpted by instinct, not birth. Nariska never approached. Too risky. Too unknown. Too much. But tonight, something shifted. Sloane looked up and their eyes locked. Across the room. Across the air. Across something deeper. The world slowed. And then, a drunk stumbled across the floor, breaking the moment. And Sloane moved. No hesitation. No wasted steps. She caught the man, steadied him, set him gently on a bar stool. Then she downed her drink in a single, graceful motion. And vanished. Nariska's heart slammed in her chest, hard and chaotic. She felt dizzy. Breathless. What the fuck just happened? She whispered aloud. She wasn't drunk, this was only her second drink. And she wasn't hallucinating. But the more she replayed the scene, the less human it all felt. The next night, Nariska came back early. Waited. Stayed later than usual. But Sloane never showed. That week became a blur of distraction. Training new recruits. Running intel. Keeping her mind busy while a storm brewed inside her. She told herself she was being foolish. But obsession doesn't need permission. It just roots itself and grows. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Sloane sat in her cabin, head in her hands. She'd slipped. Let instinct override logic. She had rules for a reason, rules that kept her safe. Kept others safe. But those eyes. Emerald green. The way they watched her. She'd been so careful, so quiet for so long, and now, she hadn't meant to connect. She'd only meant to observe. Sloane sat in her cabin, head in her hands. She'd been careful, hidden for years. But instincts don't listen. Sloane, murmuring to herself. I should have never gone back. But she looked at me like she knew. Because Sloane Denvers wasn't like others. She wasn't human. She was a werewolf born, not bitten. A rarity. A threat as far as the packs were concerned. By blood, she was alpha. But alone, she was nothing. Or worse, dangerous. She lost her parents young. Raised in secret by Selena, an old she-wolf with no heirs. When humans invaded their territory, Selena was killed. Sloane had to fight for her place. And when it became clear the elders would never accept her, she left before they could cast her out. Now she lived hidden, protecting others from the shadows. Bridging the gap between worlds, always believing coexistence was possible, but never daring to get too close. Until her. A week later, Nariska returned to the bar one last time. Still no sign of the woman. She finished her drink, slipped outside, and headed to her Ducati. Her transfer to the London base was scheduled for the next day. A month away. Enough distance to kill whatever this fixation was. She revved the bike. But then, movement in the alley. She paused. Adjusted her eyes. Darkness. Then, golden eyes blinked into view, just beyond reach. She froze. Just as she swung a leg off the bike, gone. Like mist pulled by moonlight. She didn't sleep that night. Didn't forget. And vowed, when she returned, she would find out who this woman was. Sloane Denvers was good at hiding. It had kept her alive. It had kept others safe. But something was pulling her. Calling her. She didn't know why. Didn't know how this stranger had sunk so deep into her bones. But she couldn't ignore it. The next morning, Mariska boarded the plane unaware of the silent shadow. From the back of the plane, hidden behind the last row of seats, Sloane clenched her jaw and rubbed her temples. "What the hell are you doing, Sloane?" she muttered. She had no answers. Only a name. Mariska O'Connor. And a need that was growing harder to fight. Scene 2. The rooftop, London base, 2:43 a.m. The rain was light but constant soft taps against the steel railing of the rooftop like a ticking clock Mariska could feel under her skin. Her breath came steady. Controlled. 1 foot balanced on the ledge. Eyes scanning the alley below. Recon mission. Simple rooftop observation. No threats reported. Just a potential movement of arms between rogue human smugglers and anti-resistance radicals. Standard sweep. So why did her pulse feel like it was trying to outpace her thoughts? Something was off. Her instincts screamed at her old, honed, deadly. The kind you earn after years in the shadows. She reached for her comms. Echo 5, this is O'Connor. No visual confirmation. Any movement. A blur. Too fast. Above her. She spun, weapon raised. Nothing. A breeze. A scent. Something primal. And then a growl. Low. Close. Behind her. Mariska turned. A figure launched at her. She ducked, twisted, fired. The bullet missed by inches as the attacker crashed into her, both of them slamming hard against the rooftop gravel. She rolled, bringing her knee up, but the figure was already gone. Another blur. Shit, she hissed, heart hammering. That wasn't human. That wasn't anything she was trained for. Her comms crackled. O'Connor, come in. You've got movement. 5 heat signatures headed your way. Rooftop breach confirmed. No kidding, she spat, adjusting her grip. 5? She could take 5. But not if they were like that thing. She moved fast, ducking behind the rooftop air unit. 2 shadows scaled the edge behind her. One dropped onto the surface with a feral snarl. Not wolves. Not fully. Twisted. Shifted wrong. Synthetic shifters. Genetically modified werewolf hybrids. Illegal. Unstable. And always armed. She was outgunned. Outnumbered. Out of time. She fired once, dropping the first. Then the second lunged, and she felt claws rake across her shoulder. White-hot pain. She fell back, bleeding. Vision swimming. And then, the world exploded. A howl, so deep, so ancient, it shook the bones of the city. And then Sloane was there. No warning. No hesitation. Her coat flew open as she shifted midair, claws out, jaws bared. She landed on the synthetic with a wet crunch and tossed its body like it weighed nothing. She didn't stop. She moved with fury, grace, precision. One attacker tried to flee. Sloane leapt, dragging it back with a snarl. Mariska stared, half-conscious, half-dreaming. Was that fur? Her eyes burned. Her head spun. Then it was over. Sloane stood panting in the rain. Half-shifted. Hands trembling. Eyes glowing golden. And covered in blood. She turned slowly, meeting Mariska's gaze. A beat passed. Maybe 2. Why are you here? Mariska asked, voice hoarse. Sloane dropped to one knee beside her, eyes darkening to storm gray again. Because I couldn't not be, she whispered. Then everything went black. Scene 3. Rooftop chase. Sloane's point of view. Sloane's breath came fast, sharp, but not from exhaustion. She could run for days. She was made for it. But not like this. Not with her in her arms. Nariska's head rested against her chest, blood seeping through her shirt, hot and metallic. Sloane could hear her pulse, still strong, still fighting. "Hold on," she whispered, leaping across the narrow divide between two rooftops. Her boots barely kissed the edge before she pushed off again, soaring like shadow across the skyline. The rain masked them. The wind cradled them. But her mind was chaos. She hadn't planned this. Hell, she hadn't planned anything since the moment those emerald eyes first looked back at her across that smoky bar. This wasn't observation anymore. This was instinct. Need. And it was tearing her rules to shreds. She glanced down at Nariska, her jaw clenched, even unconscious. Gods, she was beautiful. Strong. Dangerous. A warrior hardened by war and betrayal. And now, broken open in Sloane's arms. Sloane swallowed hard. Her throat burned. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed to herself again. She could have stayed hidden. She should have. But when she smelled her blood, when she saw those synthetics lunging for her throat, everything inside her snapped. She hadn't just attacked. She unleashed. Claws. Teeth. The kind of violence she'd buried deep inside her since leaving the pack. She hadn't fought like that in years. And she'd liked it. That terrified her most. She ducked low, sliding down a fire escape, landing silent as mist behind an old mechanic shop. She pushed through a steel door at the back, an abandoned maintenance flat she'd secured 2 weeks ago. She'd hoped she'd never need it. But fate is a sadistic little bitch. The room was cold. No electricity. Concrete floors. Just a mattress, a table, and medical supplies in a dented crate. She lowered Nariska gently onto the bed. Her shirt was soaked red. Shoulder wound. Deep. Clean slash. Likely from claws, not blades. It could have killed her. Sloane's hands shook. She could have died. She growled low, shoving the thought away. "I've got you," she murmured, tugging off her coat. "You're okay. I've got you." She worked fast. Pulled back Nariska's jacket. Tore fabric to expose the wound. The moment her skin touched Nariska's bare shoulder, a current shot through her. Like lightning under the skin. Sloane hissed and drew back, staring at her hand. No. Not now. Not this. She didn't have time for the bond. The pull. The awakening of instincts that hadn't stirred in years. She cleaned the wound, biting back the urge to bury her face in the scent of her. Her wolf was pacing now, restless, needy. Not just for touch. For connection. This woman, this soldier, had cracked something inside her wide open, and now the beast wanted everything. She wrapped the wound. Pressed firm. She'd heal, Sloane could tell. She'd be sore. Angry. Confused. But alive. She sat back on her heels, soaked in blood and rain, trembling now not from exertion, but from restraint. She hadn't lost control. But she came dangerously close. And when Nariska woke up, she'd have questions. 1,000 of them. And Sloane didn't know if she had the strength to lie anymore. Scene 4. Healing with Shadows. Nariska wakes in Sloane's safe house, her body patchworked with wounds, but alive physically. But the real battle is in her mind. Nightmares claw at her sleep, visions of twisted hybrid wolves stalking her through fog-thick forests and crumbling cities. Their eyes glow unnatural, their snarls echo like distant thunder. She wakes gasping, drenched in sweat, heart hammering like a war drum. During the day, strange sensations pulse under her skin, a flicker of fur, sudden sharpness in senses, a taste of something wild in her mouth. She tries to push it down, but it claws back every time. Sloane watches silently, torn between wanting to comfort and needing to keep control. Their glances carry unspoken storms, danger, desire, and something neither can name yet. She feels watched, hunted. Whispers in the wind, fleeting figures at the edge of vision. Then, the hybrids strike again. This time, Nariska is ready, but not enough. They corner her, teeth bared and claws gleaming. Sloane arrives like a tempest, fierce and raw. But the hybrid's venom is deeper this time, corrupting, consuming. Dim light filters through cracked blinds, dust motes dancing like tiny ghosts. Nariska's eyes flutter open. Her breath is shallow, each inhale sharp with pain. The scent of rain, metal, and something wild, too wild, hangs heavy in the air. She tries to sit up. A wave of dizziness crashes down. The wound on her shoulder burns, but beneath the pain, there's a strange, pulsing heat alive. Her fingers twitch, and for a moment, she thinks she feels fur? A flicker of something primal beneath her skin. Where am I? Her voice is raw, cracked like old leather. A shadow moves by the door. Sloane steps in, eyes storm gray, tension coiled in every line of her body. You're safe, Sloane says softly, voice rough. You're alive because of me. Nariska's gaze sharpens, suspicion flaring. What did you do to me? Sloane doesn't answer right away. Instead, she reaches out, hesitates, then lets her hand rest lightly near the wound. You were infected, Sloane says finally. By the hybrids, the synthetic blood. It's poison. Then why am I not dead? Because I stopped it. But it's still inside you. It's killing you. You don't have long before it takes everything. Nariska's jaw clenches. And what? You're going to fix me with more poison. Sloane's eyes flash, conflicted. No. The only way to save you is to bite you. Nariska laughs bitterly. You're insane. Sloane leans closer, voice dropping to a whisper heavy with promise and threat. My blood is ancient and pure. This bite will bind us. Change you. Maybe forever. The room feels smaller, hotter. Nariska's pulse races, not just from fear, but from something deeper. Something calling. Then do it, she breathes. Save me. But don't expect me to thank you. Sloane sinks her teeth into Nariska's flesh, the bite searing, wild, and binding. Pain and fire and power flooding through them both. A primal scream lost to the rain. And when it's over, Nariska is changed, marked by the wolf, tethered to Sloane, alive because of the beast inside. Scene 5. The quiet intrusion. Nariska returns to her apartment under the dull gray wash of early morning light, every familiar corner a small balm to her fractured mind. But peace is an illusion. She senses eyes on her, always just out of sight. A flicker in the periphery. Footsteps that stop when she looks. Her phone buzzes with no caller ID. A text appears, "We're watching." No sender. No reply. She hears noises, scraping on walls, distant howls masked by urban life. Her dreams twist into nightmares, wolves with synthetic eyes, snarling with cold fire, their voices a whisper of threat and warning. She clenches her jaw and trains herself to stay alert, but exhaustion claws at her edges. The cracks deepen. Sleep slips further away. Shadows in her apartment seem to breathe. She finds scratches on her doorframe, too tall for her, too deliberate. When she runs, she feels the brush of fur against her skin, phantom touches or something more. Her reflection in the mirror sometimes flickers, eyes briefly glowing gold before the normal storm gray returns. Sloane visits less, but when she does, the tension between them hums electric, words unspoken, glances loaded with danger and hunger. Nariska's hands tremble as her instincts sharpen. She's no longer just a soldier, she's becoming something else. The breaking point. One night, the stalking shadows converge. The hybrids burst into her apartment, teeth bared, claws flashing in the sickly glow of the streetlight. She fights, blood and fury, but they overwhelm her. Then, like a storm unleashed, Sloane crashes through the door, wild and feral, claws sinking into the flesh of the nearest hybrid. The bite follows, searing and irrevocable. The air was thick with tension, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. Nariska's senses screamed in overdrive, the metallic tang of blood, the sharp scent of wet fur, the sick scrape of claws against concrete. She stood her ground in the cramped living room, muscles coiled tight like springs ready to snap. The door shattered. Hybrids poured in like shadows made flesh, eyes glowing unnatural fire, mouths twisted in snarls that chilled her soul. She moved fast, brutal, a soldier's precision mixed with raw desperation. A fist met her ribs, knocking the wind out. She countered with a sharp elbow to the jaw, bone cracking. Another lunged, claws ripping across her arm. Pain exploded, but she didn't falter. She spun, delivering a brutal kick that sent one crashing into the kitchen counter, glass shattering. The hybrids fought with unnatural strength and speed, their synthetic blood coursing like venom, resilient, relentless. One tackled her to the floor, jaws snapping inches from her throat. She rolled, twisting free just in time, grabbed a shard of broken glass and plunged it deep into the creature's side. It howled, a sound like metal tearing through flesh. Then, more closed in. Her vision blurred, muscles screamed, and blood slicked the floor beneath her boots. Just when the darkness began to creep in, a feral roar shattered the chaos. Sloane was there, leaping through the broken door, claws bared, eyes blazing gold. She was a storm. She tore through the hybrids with savage grace, teeth sinking, claws slashing, fury incarnate. One hybrid lunged at Nariska again. Sloane intercepted, shoving it back with a roar that rattled the walls. The fight became a blur of motion, snarls, blood, and desperate survival. And then the fight was over. Scene 6. The aftermath, navigating the new beast. Nariska wakes tangled in sheets, the bite throbbing like a heartbeat all its own. Her body feels like a battlefield, every nerve ignited, every muscle humming with unfamiliar strength and strange weakness all at once. The hunger is a whisper at first, a low rumble in her gut, a craving she can't name. Not just for food, but for something darker, more urgent. Her senses are sharper, sounds echo like thunderclaps, scents flood her mind in vivid waves. The city's chaos is no longer noise, but a living thing breathing right alongside her. She stares at her hands, sometimes fur brushes her fingertips, sometimes skin. The line between human and wolf blurs, and it terrifies her. Sloane's presence, the guardian and the tempest. Sloane stays near, not too close, not too distant. A careful balance. She watches Nariska wrestle with the beast inside, silent and patient. Her eyes flicker with worry and something deeper, possessiveness, desire, fierce protectiveness. When Nariska falters, Sloane is there to steady her, a steady heartbeat in the wild chaos. But Sloane doesn't smother. She knows the beast must be faced, not caged. The hunger and emotions, a torrent unleashed. The hunger grows, sometimes a roaring blaze, sometimes a dull ache. Nariska struggles to control it, biting back sudden urges to run, hunt, fight. Her dreams are filled with wolves howling, stalking, calling. Emotions swirl, rage at losing control, fear of what she's becoming, but beneath it all, a pulse of something thrilling, power, freedom, connection. She resents the need, but craves the strength. A moment of fracture and connection. One night, the hunger becomes unbearable. Nariska escapes into the rain-drenched streets, wild and untamed. Sloane follows, not to restrain, but to guide. Their eyes meet in the storm. No more running, Sloane says, voice low and fierce. Nariska's breath catches, between fear and something else. Teach me, she whispers. And so the dance begins between the wolf and the woman, predator and protector, pain and desire. Scene 7. Nariska's struggle, the night of the near loss. The city breathed cold beneath a bruised sky, rain drumming a restless tattoo against cracked windows. Nariska sat on the edge of the rooftop, knees drawn tight, hands clenched like anchors trying to hold her fast. Her breath came ragged, every inhale a battle. The hunger was a wildfire roaring through her veins, ripping, clawing, desperate. Her senses screamed, 1,000 whispers in the dark, scents so sharp she could taste them like blood on her tongue. Her vision blurred, shifting between the concrete sprawl and something darker, shadows flickering with fur and teeth. Her hands trembled, nails digging into palms. A growl, deep and raw, rumbled from somewhere beneath her ribs. She fought it, clawing at the beast inside, but it fought back harder. Her teeth clenched so tight her jaw ached. Her nails dug deeper. Not now. Not here. The city's noise faded, replaced by the howls of distant wolves, calling her home, calling her away. Her heart pounded, part fear, part something primal and aching. A flash of movement caught her eye, an alley shadow shifting, eyes glowing amber. Panic flared. She staggered back, breath breaking. Suddenly, claws scraped the rooftop's edge, a sound sharper than steel on stone. Her vision snapped. She was losing control. The beast surged, muscles tensed to strike. And then, Sloane's voice, low and steady, cut through the storm. "Nariska. Breathe. Focus." Warm hands found her shoulders, grounding, steadying. The glow in her eyes dimmed, not gone, but tethered. Nariska's breath slowed, chest heaving. I can't," her voice cracked. Sloane's gaze held hers, fierce and unwavering. "You can. You're stronger than the hunger. Stronger than the fear." For a moment, the wild and the woman balanced on a knife's edge. Then Nariska nodded, trembling, surrendering to the struggle, not defeated, but fighting. Sloane pulled her close, the only safe harbor in the storm. The hunger tore at her insides, sharper, more desperate. The distant howls called her name, a song of wild freedom and ruthless power. Her eyes flickered gold against the night as the beast stirred beneath skin too fragile to hold it. Claws scraped the ledge beside her, a reminder of the predator she was becoming. She was losing herself. Scene 8. The Raw Confession, a Conversation in the Shadows. Inside the safe house, Sloane sat beside her on the cold floor, the dim light casting long shadows that mirrored the tension between them. Nariska's voice was raw, trembling with fear and something deeper. "I don't know how to hold this," she whispered. "This hunger, this beast inside me. It's tearing me apart." Sloane's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "You're not alone. The wolf's inside you now, that fire, that hunger, it's part of you. It's terrifying, but it's power too." Nariska shook her head, frustration spilling over. "Power, I don't want. I'm losing myself to it. I feel it clawing through my veins, twisting my mind. What if I hurt you? What if I become the thing I've hunted all my life?" Sloane reached out, fingers brushing Nariska's cheek, gentle, grounding. "You won't," Sloane promised. "I'll fight with you. For you. Because I see you beneath the wolf, the woman who fights and loves and survives." A silence settled, thick and charged. Nariska's breath hitched as Sloane's hand curled around hers, anchoring her in a storm of fear and desire. The air between them thickened, almost too heavy to breathe. Nariska's eyes, still flickering with that wild golden shimmer, searched Sloane's face for something solid, something to hold onto as the beast clawed beneath her skin. Sloane's hand tightened slightly around hers, grounding yet gentle, a silent promise. Neither spoke for a long moment. The only sound was their breath, ragged, shared, intimate. Nariska's voice broke the stillness, soft, vulnerable. "Why do you stay? After everything, the pack, the fight, the danger. Why do you stay with me?" Sloane's gaze darkened with fierce protectiveness and a touch of something else, something unspoken, but burning beneath her skin. "Because I've seen what you are, not just the beast, but the woman who refuses to break. And because I'm tired of hiding, tired of fighting alone." Her words were a confession wrapped in steel and velvet. Nariska's heart thudded painfully, torn between fear and something dangerously like hope. "Sometimes I'm afraid I'm losing myself," she whispered. "That the beast will take over, and I'll be nothing but claws and hunger." Sloane leaned in, voice low and steady, her breath warm against Nariska's cheek. "You're more than that. You're fire and storm and shadow. And I'll be here, your anchor and your wildest tempest." Their eyes locked, a silent battle of need and restraint. The night stretched on, heavy with the weight of what was unsaid, the promise of pain and passion, of battles fought and those yet to come. In that quiet space, trust grew, not perfect, not whole, but real. Two fierce souls tangled and trembling on the edge of something profound. The room felt smaller, the shadows deeper, as Sloane's hand lingered on Nariska's cheek, tracing a trembling line along her jaw. Her fingers were warm, steady, the only solid thing in the swirling chaos of hunger and fear. Nariska's breath hitched, heart pounding a fierce rhythm that echoed in her ears. Her eyes fluttered closed, the wild golden flicker softening into something more fragile, more human. Sloane leaned in, slow and deliberate, her breath a whisper against Nariska's skin. Their faces were inches apart, breaths mingling, hot and trembling. The world shrank to this suspended moment, the softness of Sloane's lips barely brushing the edge of Nariska's, the fierce pull of 1,000 unspoken words. Then Sloane paused. Her eyes opened, dark and fierce, searching Nariska's face for permission, or perhaps pleading for restraint. Nariska's eyes met hers, wide and shimmering with turmoil, the desperate hunger to give in battling the stark fear of losing control. Neither moved. Neither spoke. Instead, the charged silence stretched, thick and heavy, vibrating with the heat of their shared longing. Sloane's hand slid from Nariska's cheek to clasp her own, fingers intertwining in a silent promise, both fierce and fragile. The hunger burned between them, not just the beast inside, but the raw, aching need of two souls tethered by pain and desire. Their gazes locked, a storm of emotions raging in the quiet, fear, longing, hope, and a fierce determination to face the darkness together. Scene 9. The ancient bond, flesh and soul. Their bond was no ordinary tie. It pulsed beneath their skin like a living thing, raw and unpredictable. Unlike the bite-bound hybrids, this connection was whispered in forgotten tongues, written only in the scars of ancient wolves long vanished. It was a thread of soul fire, uniting their minds and hearts in a way that blurred boundaries, pain, joy, and hunger all bleeding into one. When Nariska's skin tingled with Sloane's emotions, fear, desire, fierce protectiveness, it was as if their spirits danced in a storm too wild to be tamed. Sloane could feel Nariska's heartbeat in her own, quickening in moments of danger or longing. It was terrifying, intoxicating, and utterly consuming. The pack didn't just hunt them, they hunted with a fury that burned like wildfire. Led by the ruthless alpha, whose teeth gleamed with hatred sharper than steel, the pack descended in shadows and snarls. Their voices echoed through the forest, ancient war cries and curses meant to sever bonds and bleed loyalty dry. One moonless night, they cornered Sloane and Nariska at the edge of an abandoned quarry, rocks jagged as broken promises. Sloane's former packmate snarled, eyes glowing with rage and betrayal, claws scraping stone. "You broke the sacred law," the alpha spat. "You've cursed us all with your madness." But Sloane stood tall, unwavering, her eyes blazing gold. "This bond isn't a curse. It's our future. And I'll fight every one of you to protect it." Nariska, fierce despite her new vulnerabilities, stepped beside Sloane, the bond between them crackling with electric defiance. Their fledgling bond was both a beacon and a target. Nariska's new powers surged unpredictably, strength, speed, senses beyond human limits, and something else, a spark of ancient magic that shimmered beneath the surface. Enemies lurked in every shadow, not just the pack, but hunters, scientists eager to capture or destroy the anomaly they represented. Together, Sloane and Nariska navigated a world teetering on the edge of war, wolves and humans, old laws and new legends colliding. Every heartbeat carried the weight of choice: destroy everything to survive or build something fierce, wild, and new. Scene 10. The raw, fiery confrontation. The air was thick with tension, heavy as a brewing storm. At the jagged edge of the abandoned quarry, shadows danced like specters, wolves' eyes glinting, teeth bared under a moonless sky. The pack was a living beast of snarls and fury, their growls rolling through the cold night air like thunder. Sloane stood at the center, unflinching. Her golden eyes burned brighter than the firelight flickering from the scattered torches. Beside her, Nariska's breath was steady despite the raw fear and power coursing through her veins. "You defy the sacred laws," the alpha snarled, stepping forward, claws scraping stone, voice a venomous hiss. "You've broken the pact that holds us together. Turning a human, a soldier, into one of us is madness. A curse." Sloane's voice cut through the night, low and unyielding. "It's not a curse. It's evolution. Something you refuse to understand because you're trapped in fear." The pack surged forward, a living wave of teeth and claws. Nariska's heart hammered, but she stood firm, instincts honed from years of resistance training merging with the wild, new strength flooding her limbs. The fight erupted, a violent symphony of snarls, growls, and the clash of wills. Sloane moved with lethal grace, defending Nariska with every slash and snap of claw. Nariska, fierce and feral, met the pack's fury head-on, her rifle forgotten, replaced by teeth and claws she was only beginning to trust. Amidst the chaos, the ancient bond between them pulsed, a wild, untamed fire that sparked their movements into a deadly, synchronized dance. The Alpha lunged for Sloane, but Nariska intercepted, knocking him back with a roar that surprised even herself. Blood stained stone and fur as the pack's fury collided with their defiance. When the last wolf was driven back into the shadows, Sloane and Nariska stood panting, bruised but unbroken, scarred together in fire and blood. Scene 11. The Fallen Alpha, a fragile truce and dark truths. The shattered stones beneath the Alpha's back were cold, jagged, but his glare burned hotter than the firelight dancing in the dark. Nariska's hands trembled, raw with adrenaline, as she pressed him down, her strength a testament to her transformation. His breath was ragged, a low growl bubbling from deep in his throat. "You think this bond of yours," he spat, eyes flickering between Nariska and Sloane, "is salvation? A cure for what's coming?" Sloane's golden gaze didn't waver. "It's the only hope," she said quietly. "The hybrids, they aren't natural. They're weapons, twisted creations by the company, mutations designed to control and kill. They threaten us all." The Alpha's lips curled into a bitter snarl. "We fought them once, nearly lost everything." His voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "The pack fractured. We retreated, but the company's claws dig deeper now." Nariska stepped forward, voice steady but fierce. "We can't fight this alone. The hybrids are beyond anything the pack can handle, too fast, too strong, and they don't tire. If we work together, old pack and new bond, we have a chance." The Alpha's eyes narrowed, torn between centuries of tradition and the harsh reality Sloane and Nariska embodied. Sloane's hand brushed Nariska's, the bond pulsing beneath their skin, a living testament to the power of unity. "Old laws can't save us," Sloane said, voice low and urgent. "But this bond, this new path, it can." A tense silence stretched between them like the calm before the next storm. Finally, the Alpha's growl softened, grudging respect flickering in his gaze. "For now," he muttered, "we fight together. But betray us, and you'll burn in our fury." Nariska's jaw set, fierce and unyielding. "We don't intend to betray. We intend to survive." Scene 12. The bond sealed, intimacy and strategy. The fire crackled low, shadows flickering like living things against the rough stone walls of their refuge. Nariska and Sloane sat close, the ancient bond humming beneath their skin, a tether tightening with every breath, every glance. Sloane's fingers traced delicate patterns along Nariska's arm, grounding her in the wild storm of new power and fear. Their eyes met, raw, searching, each holding a mirror to the other's soul. Slowly, tentatively, Sloane leaned in, lips brushing Nariska's with a whisper of a kiss, soft and searing all at once. Nariska's breath caught, the hunger inside her roaring in tandem with the beat of her heart. The kiss deepened, urgent and tender, a fierce claim and a fragile promise. Hands tangled in hair, skin, clothes, each touch a balm and a spark. When they finally broke apart, the charged silence between them was thick with unspoken words and wild possibility. Sloane pulled back, voice low but fierce. "We can't just survive. We have to strike back." Nariska nodded, eyes blazing with resolve. "The company's labs are hidden in the outskirts, heavily guarded, but vulnerable. They don't expect us to fight together, old pack and new bond." The Alpha's grudging cooperation had given them precious intel. Sloane traced a map on the stone floor with the finger points of entry, guard shifts, and weak spots in the perimeter. "We hit fast. Hard. Disrupt their experiments, free the hybrids they've trapped, and sever their supply lines." Nariska's voice was steady, tempered by the soldier inside her. "We're not just fighting for us. We're fighting for everyone, wolves, humans, hybrids, anyone they've twisted into weapons." Sloane's gaze softened, her hand finding Nariska's again. This bond, it's our strength. Together, we're unstoppable. They sat close, plans whispered in the dark, the fire's glow reflecting the fierce light of two souls ready to burn down the old world and build a new one. Scene 13. The night before, exploding intimacy. The safe house was a sanctuary wrapped in shadows and whispered breaths. Sloane and Nariska found each other like two flames drawn irresistibly close, hunger and fear burning away every hesitation. Their hands and mouths spoke a language older than words, rough, urgent, tender. Clothes fell away like barriers, skin on skin igniting sparks that set their souls aflame. Sloane's touch was fierce and reverent, claiming, soothing, unraveling the wild knot of fear and power inside Nariska. Nariska responded with equal fire, every kiss and gasp a fierce declaration of belonging and need. They moved together, a wild, trembling dance of passion and raw vulnerability. Every gasp, every shiver, every touch was a fierce promise, to fight, to protect, to never let go. When they finally collapsed, tangled and breathless, the ancient bond thrummed beneath their skin stronger, deeper, anchoring them in the storm to come. Scene 14. The assault, adrenaline and brutality. Dawn barely kissed the horizon when they moved, silent shadows slipping through the outskirts, hearts pounding a war drum rhythm. The company's compound loomed, cold steel and glass, sterile and merciless. The air smelled of oil, metal, and something darker: fear, control, death. Sloane led, senses razor-sharp, eyes blazing gold in the pre-dawn gloom. Nariska followed, every muscle coiled, mind sharp as a blade. The first breach was violent, a storm of shattered glass and flashing steel. Guards erupted like hornets, guns barking, voices screaming orders that died in chaos. Nariska dove forward, fists and claws tearing through flesh and bone, instincts and training melding with her new fierce power. Sloane was a whirlwind of fury beside her, claws slashing, teeth sinking, every move a deadly dance. They fought through corridors slick with blood and fear, rescuing hybrids trapped in cold cages, their eyes wide with confusion and hope. The company's elite counterattacked, genetically enhanced soldiers moving like shadows, brutal and relentless. Explosions rocked the building, metal screamed under fire. Nariska felt every heartbeat pounding against hers, every breath shared in the chaos of war. The bond flared, strengthening, sharpening, their movements perfectly synced, a storm no enemy could weather. At the climax, Sloane and Nariska faced the heart of the operation, a laboratory pulsing with twisted experiments and horrors. They destroyed it, tearing down the walls of control, setting free the trapped souls, and watching the compound burn in a hellish sunrise. Scene 15. Aftermath, sanctuary rising from ashes. The smoke had barely cleared when Sloane and Nariska stood together on the rugged land surrounding Sloane's cabin, wild grasses swaying in the gentle wind, the first light of dawn bathing everything in soft gold. The cabin, once a lone refuge, was about to become something far greater, a sanctuary for those the world had discarded. Hybrids, lost souls caught between human and wolf, hunted and feared. Nariska ran her fingers over the rough wooden fence they had built, the sturdy foundation of a new home, a new pact. "We have to teach them," Nariska said, voice steady but tinged with fierce hope. "How to control the hunger, the power, how to live without fear." Sloane's golden eyes softened as she watched Nariska's resolve burn bright. "We'll teach them the old ways, the ancient laws, and the new bond," Sloane replied. "No longer divided by fear or blood. We will build a family that's stronger because of its scars." Building the new pact, fire forged. Together, they began the work, constructing a building near the cabin, a place to heal, to train, to belong. Hybrids and wolves arrived, some broken, some fierce, all searching for a place to call home. Under Sloane and Nariska's guidance, they learned not just to survive, but to thrive. Training in combat, control, and trust, sharing stories under the stars, forging bonds that would last a lifetime. Nariska's military precision met Sloane's primal wisdom, a perfect storm that tempered wildness with discipline. Every scar told a story, every rescued soul was a spark rekindled. The leaders' fiery hearts, unbreakable souls. At the heart of it all stood Sloane and Nariska, fiery leaders bound by blood, spirit, and unyielding love. They were more than alpha and mate, they were the beating heart of the new pact, fierce protectors and tender guides. Their bond was the flame that lit the way, a promise that no one would face the darkness alone again. Together, they forged a new legacy, one written in fire, shadow, and the unbreakable strength of love. Scene 16, Moments of Quiet, a New Dawn in the Wild. The training field was quiet, dew still clinging to the grass as the morning sun painted the horizon in sleepy golds and gentle blues. Nariska stood with her arms crossed, watching two younger hybrids spar beneath the trees, one too eager, the other too hesitant. She didn't interfere, just watched, smiled slightly, and let them find their rhythm. Sloane approached behind her, arms slipping around her waist. Her chin rested on Nariska's shoulder, lips brushing warm against her neck. "You're getting soft, Commander," Sloane teased softly. Nariska smirked, leaning back into her. "Don't mistake mercy for softness, me loba. I can still snap your wrist in 3 moves." "I'd let you," Sloane murmured, eyes closed, breath content. Later that night, the bonfire crackled high in the center of the camp. Laughter, howls, music made from whatever scraps they'd scavenged, the pack was alive, truly alive for the first time in decades. Sloane watched the flames dance in Nariska's eyes, her arm draped casually over her shoulders, both of them lost in the hum of peace hard-earned. "I never thought I'd have this," Sloane said quietly. "Not just the fight. But this?" Nariska turned to her, fingers brushing through Sloane's hair with the gentleness of someone who knew violence too well. "You earned it. We both did." A young hybrid girl came up shyly, a sketchbook in hand. She showed them a drawing, Nariska mid-leap, Sloane mid-shift, the fire behind them blazing like a phoenix rising. "I call it Alpha Flame," she said. Sloane's voice caught in her throat. Nariska, for once, was speechless. They nodded, smiling, and pulled the girl into a hug she didn't know she needed. Final moments, the echo of a legacy. Later, alone in the quiet of the cabin, they lay tangled in each other's arms. The moonlight painted silver tattoos across their bare skin. No words needed. Just the breath between them. The steady, shared heartbeat. The bond deeper than blood, older than time. Outside, wolves howled, not for war, but for peace. Sloane whispered, "We built something beautiful, didn't we?" Nariska nodded, pressing her lips to Sloane's temple. "We did. And it'll burn long after us." The intimacy that followed was a dizzying, frantic exploration. It was a tangle of limbs and a shedding of clothes, a series of desperate kisses against mouths and necks and collarbones. It was the raw physical manifestation of every unsaid thing that had built up between them for months, finally set free.